Hi everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. With you here is Shannon, and today we are diving into another course with another topic. Please don't forget to pay attention. Don't forget to pay attention. Knowledge is not free. It may seem so, but you have to pay attention. To begin with, don't forget to subscribe and also hit that notification button or that notification bell to ensure that the next time I'll upload a video, YouTube will actually notify you, and then you'll be able to follow that video and learn from it. So our today's course is leadership and management, and we are going to look at a topic which is leadership styles. We need to know different styles that are used in different organizations and institutions. So when we look at these styles, they are used in most countries. They are used in Zambia, but we find that there are others that are mostly used in certain countries, in certain institutions, or by certain bosses, and then others are not used. So what do we understand about leadership styles? So these are just ways in which leaders do rule their people, or leaders do instruct their subordinates or followers. We find that in as much as they are doing this, it's a manner of directing them, it's a manner of showing them the way to go, it's a manner that is used in institutions or organizations to give instructions to their subordinates. So to begin with, we have got, I think, 4, if not 5 types of leadership styles that we have in leadership and management. This is actually a topic for registered nursing students. Remember, in other careers, they may add more, but today we're actually talking about the RN students. So the first leadership style that we have in leadership and management, we have what is known as a democratic leadership style, which is also known as participative leadership style. So what do we find in here? What are you supposed to write when NMCZ ask of you to actually outline the leadership styles that we have in leadership? Under this style, we are saying that we find that leaders, they usually involve their subordinates when it comes to planning, when it comes to doing activities. These kinds of leaders, they don't use force. They like their subordinates. They move at the same page with their subordinates. We find that when subordinates complain, these leaders put into consideration all the subordinates' needs, and then they are met. However, there are disadvantages and advantages of each leadership style. I'm going to be outlining one advantage and one disadvantage. So if a leader is, if a leader is open to their subordinates, they work well with their subordinates, what is an advantage of that? We find that there is productivity in that organization or in that institution, because as subordinates will be working, they won't be working by force, they won't be forced, they'll be actually working hand in hand with their leader, and we find that there is productivity in that organization, in the sense that the subordinates or the workers, they do their work with all their hearts. There is increased morale as they carry out their work. They are not forced. It is all nice, when you're in good terms with your boss or in good terms with your leader. So that's an advantage. Actually, coming to one disadvantage that we have under this type of leadership style, we find that sometimes it becomes so critical to use this type of a style when you face an emergency. When you face an emergency, how do you call for your subordinates to sit for a meeting to agree on that thing when it's actually an emergency? So that's a disadvantage. You cannot use this style when there is an emergency. Coming to the second style that we have dictatorship style. Dictatorship style, also known as autocratic style, leadership style. So we find that in here, it's all about the boss. The boss knows it all. The boss doesn't want to hear to people's concerns and complaints. The boss just wants to do things on his own. The boss doesn't mind planning together with the subordinates. The boss just knows it all, and he does things on his own. All he wants from the subordinates is obedience. He doesn't need participation, as in like involving them in whatever. He just needs to command, and then a subordinate is supposed to carry out that work. However, this leadership style is not mostly used in most organizations, because we find that people have got rights. People have got rights in their workplaces. People have got rights in their schools. So we find that when you tell me something by force, you're trying to use force, I may end up actually reminding you my rights, reminding you that you don't need to use force. I'm also a human being. I need that care. I need that respect, all that. So we find that these types of leaders, they like using force and they don't mind what subordinates think about. So what is an advantage of this leadership style? It's not too bad, because they use force. Everything has got its own advantages and disadvantages. One advantage of autocratic or dictatorship style, we find that this style is very much effective when you are working with people who are stubborn. When you're working with employees, or when you're working with subordinates who don't want to carry out work according to how you have told them. They are stubborn, they miss work, they do things on their own. If you happen to use this type of a style as a leader, you'll find that indeed employees or workers, they'll come into obedience and carry out that work very well. Isn't that good? It's actually good. They'll be working in line with the organizational rules, with the organizational policies, and then at the end of the day, work will be done. What is the disadvantage of this type of leadership style? So the one disadvantage that I can state is that there can be, let me say, there is no morale in workers as they are carrying out their work. How do you work? Once your boss steps in, you're even shivering, even shaking, you're scared. We don't even know what he's going to say now. So you find that there is no morale in workers as they are carrying out their duties, because the boss is always angry. The boss is always using force. So that's the disadvantage. We are coming to the third type of leadership style that we have in leadership and management under RN, or under registered nursing. We have a bureaucratic leadership style. So this type of leadership, we find that in here, leaders like following rules. They like following rules the way they are outlined by the organization. They just want to follow them. If it's step by step, you need to do it according to the procedures, according to the schedules, according to how the organization policy talks about work. So we find that these leaders, they don't tolerate whatever let me say creativity you have to carry out work according to the rules of the organization, according to the steps, according to the procedures, all those things. So this is a type of leadership where they use rules and regulations in order for work to be carried out. So what is an advantage? We find that an advantage of this leadership style, there is increased productivity, in the sense that in as much as workers are carrying out their work, we find that they are following, let me give an example of students. As we learn in skills lab, we follow that procedure manual. You greet the patient, wash your hands, you start whatever you have to do, screen for privacy, all those things. We find that at the end of the day of you following those steps, work will be carried out perfectly, and it will actually give you confidence that you indeed did the work as the procedure manual required, or as the organization required, or as the hospital required of you to do that task. So we find that work is carried out very well with little mistakes or with little weaknesses. So that is the advantage. And then coming to the disadvantage, we find that in this there is less creativity. Maybe they created those rules 10 years ago and we are still using them now. They say nursing is dynamic. Life is actually dynamic too. Things do change. You need to tune to some few things. You need to tune to some few, you need to be updated in as much as you are carrying out your work. You need to be updated. So you find that these types of leaders, they don't allow creativity. They will not allow you new ideas. You don't have to use any other thing. Whether you face an emergency, it's not an emergency. You have to follow the rules. So there is less creativity and innovation in such leaders who follow this kind of a leadership style. Coming to the, I think it's the last one that we have, is charismatic leadership style. Charismatic leadership style. So in here we find that these let me say these types of leaders that use that are charismatic, we find that they use a special charm. It's just in them. And they don't have to force you to do things. And they just have that natural, let me say, that natural thing of ruling others. It's in them. However, everything has got its own advantage and disadvantage. It has got its own advantage. Yes, they are leading you according to the special gift that they have in them, but at the end of the day, we find that people find challenge to carry out work when you are not there. When these types of leaders are out, it also falls under types of leaders. So we find that when you are not there as a boss, we find that it is very much difficult for workers to carry out their work. That's a disadvantage. But an advantage, it's a good thing to be led by someone who has got a gift in them to actually carry out their work. And then coming to the other type of leadership style, that remember, charismatic it also falls under types of leaders. We also have charismatic leaders. So you can either put it when writing styles, but most of the time it is not applicable unless you have just forgotten the other one. They can still mark you if you explain it very well. And then coming to the last one, which is laissez-faire or free reign leadership style. Laissez-faire or free reign leadership style. So in here, this type of leadership style, it's kind of complicated. We find that most of the time the leader is away from work. The leader is more like lazy, so to say. He'll be just in his office doing his own things. He won't be there controlling the subordinates. All he does is just watch at them. If there are subordinates, they'll be able to give updates to that leader. That leader won't actually mind giving them the feedback. So we find that this leadership style, let me say, one advantage is that it works well when you are actually working with workers who know what they're doing, or workers who are experts in their work. But what is the disadvantage? The disadvantage is that the company or the organization is at high risk of collapsing. It is at high risk of collapsing, because we find that people are just using their own ideas. I'll come late at work, my boss won't ask me. I'll do work how I want to carry it. Maybe I just want to do half of the work, and then the other one I'll leave it because the boss won't be there to control me. So I find that the disadvantage is that there is high risk of the organization losing its productivity, the organization actually failing to prosper in some few things or in some few goals that were set by an organization. So that is laissez-faire. So in as much as you explain in your exam, we find that they bring this question with 40 marks, if not 30. You are supposed to explain at least 4. You get dictatorship, you get democratic, you get laissez-faire, you get the other one, which is bureaucratic. These 4 are the main. Unless if they tell you 5, you can still add charismatic, though that falls under types of leaders. So these are the types of leadership styles that we have. However, when you're taught to write, explain something on what they state, and then write 2 advantages, write 2 disadvantages, and then you move to the next type of leadership style, and then NMCZ will actually give you your marks. Thank you so much. That is the topic of today. That was the topic of today. I hope you have learned something. And when you're listening to these videos, if you can't master what I'm saying, please find time to be jotting down a few points. Leadership is bulky. People find challenges in just clearing. This has been a problem in our country. We find that most of them, they'll still go back to receipt leadership, of which I pray I should not. I'm still waiting for my results. I pray that I should not go back and receipt, because that was my favorite course. I liked it with all my heart, and I had a few challenges, but with me, it was my favorite course, and I never had too many challenges with it. So, same to you. Remember to be writing notes. Don't just say, I know things by my head. That course is bulky. You need to be writing in your books. You need to be going through past papers. You need to be asking questions. And if you have any questions, please don't forget to just ask in the comment section. I'll actually attend to it some other time, or if not now, I'll actually attend to it once you comment or once you ask. Don't forget to share the video. Knowledge should be shared. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to download the video so that you can listen to it some other time. And also don't forget to do it, to hit that notification bell to ensure that the next time I upload a video, you are notified, and then you'll be able to learn from that video. Thank you so much for your attention. Thank you so much for your attention. You're a good class. You're a good people. You actually clear with good marks. I love you all.